Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of the Code and Coffee Show. During this show, we will discuss, like always, the two most important things in life of every developer: code and, of course, coffee, because it runs in our veins and helps us convert all our ideas to real products. And that's why. And today we will again jump into the topic of testing. In the previous episodes, we already talked a bit about PHP testing with PHP unit. Later, we also had a session about rescuing legacy software. And today, it's time to learn a bit about end to end testing with Ramona Schwering. And Ramona is a software engineer with roots in quality assurance. She primarily uses this to strengthen trust in automation and support the testers and developers alike. Um, Becoming a Google developer expert in web technologies, woman Techmaker Ambassador, and Cypress Ambassador in the process. I must say, this is quite an impressive list.
Thank
When did
you.
you have when did you have time to be ambassador of so many things?
Well, the good thing is that testing in general is my passion. So there's an overlap of topics. And when it comes to being a woman Techmaker ambassador, being on the stage for technical topics already helps. And I think visibility is key. So it goes hand in hand a bit, and I love it. And yeah, I'm lucky to have an employer who's supporting me too, which is really, really helpful. So I'm really happy that I'm able to basically be hopefully a little bit helpful.
Oh, that's for sure. I mean, thanks to you, we will have the full stack in the code and coffee sessions because we will have like everything. And but before we will jump into testing, are you a coffee drinker?
I started recently actually. Like I asked my
Oh,
colleagues and my boyfriend, and it was like 3 weeks ago. So I'm a coffee newbie, but I basically started to like it a lot. So yeah, show me good coffee, please.
I mean that's great. So it means that at the moment, still only Cassidy is the only tea drinker in the based on all of our previous guests. And what is your favorite coffee?
Well, I like to use coffee with milk. Yeah, so I'm not completely one of the cool guys, if I can say it like that. Maybe you need to get to it slowly but steady, but I'm working on it. So, like customizing the part of coffee which should increase after time and the part of milk decreasing.
I mean, I really like the algorithm that you have, even in having the process between having the balance between the milk and the coffee. I mean, what can I say? I also remember that I started with the Nescafe or something like this because my parents thought that it was great. From the perspective of time, I can say no, it wasn't. But they still love it, and I have to have a bit of instant coffee in my house, which I can say that I feel quite bad about this.
Mm.
But like right now with me, there is this nice jug of Heresy Valentine's coffee.
Mm.
It's like the last batch. It's part from Guatemala and part from Honduras. Of
Ooh.
course, the whole Valentine's Day part was because yeah, it was made for Valentine's Day, and
Mm.
the funny part is the proportion of each beans. So it's 69 to 31, and it costed 69 zlotys. So yeah, of course, I always love this humor, this yeah.
I need to keep
But
it
I
in
can
mind.
but I can tell that it's really amazing, and I can't wait for the next year edition because yeah, this is like I said the last shot.
Mm.
So
I guess
yeah.
I guess the one we have here is called Azul, and it's at least from a local distributor. I don't know its
Mhm.
origin because I'm a newbie, but at least it was a good start, right?
Oh, of course. I mean, let's be honest. Everything will be better than those mass instant coffees. And the moment
Yeah.
when someone starts trying, uh, we all know how it ends. I mean, I'm guessing that like in a year you will be buying yourself a hand grinder and
Oh yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I really hope that because I don't know if all of you know that every guest of Code and Coffee receives a really nice coffee guest. So I really hope that it will help you in this coffee adventure, and yeah, maybe if you'll ever be in Poland, we'll have a chance to go to the to Coffee Hood Roastery live, so you can see how it's how it's been made.
Yeah, that's great.
Um, so before we will jump into testing, yeah, running a show like this doesn't pay for itself yet. I mean, it kind of does because we have a very nice and generous sponsor. Oh, and remember, before running their nicely ad, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section. So the next 50 seconds are for Kinsta.
Kinsta's application hosting simplifies the work of modern web developers. With just a few steps to get your app up and running with performance backed by the fastest Google C2 machines, Kinsta has built a development platform designed to get your applications in front of users as quick as possible. Test Kinsta's application hosting for yourself at kinsta.com. The first $20 are on us.
So thank you very much, Kinsta. It's really nice to have you here. Yeah, so it's time to jump straight into end-to-end testing. So maybe let's start with a bit of theory. What is end-to-end testing?
Actually, I guess I would describe it as testing, obviously, something from beginning to end. So the whole workflow, including the complete application stack. If you're a little bit into quality assurance theory, it can be considered a system test. So the one where you basically accept the results of your work. And it will be completely done by a computer, as everything automated testing, I think. So in other words, we try to teach a computer to act like a human.
Yes, and this is when we have this nice testing pyramid.
Mm.
End-to-end testing is always on the top because it takes quite a lot of time because we
Yeah.
have to run we have to run the browser somewhere. But yeah, it's very useful because it helps us to see the results if everything is working. Although on the other hand, it won't help us to pinpoint what is exactly wrong. Then it's up to us and the rest of the lower part of the stack with, for example, unit testing, so we can all have it together. And today we will be talking about Cypress. Um, why Cypress? Because it's not the only solution out there.
Yeah, in my opinion, I love Cypress because of its developer experience. So you will see later on, we have a little test runner at our hands where we can debug our tests if they fail or if we have an error in the application, and we can basically take a look at every step our test does. And not only when it comes to the application, but also you can use the dev tools you are used to, and having basically information on everything what happens, as Cypress is running inside of the browser and not like Selenium where you just remote control your browser. So you have all access you need, which helps a lot in debugging. So that was basically the way I learned to appreciate Cypress a lot. Yeah.
Hmm. I understand. Yeah. Um, so maybe enough of talk. Let's kind of show something. So I will.
Ooh.
Yeah, because let's dive deep there. So
Mhm.
the screen is yours.
Yeah. So I brought you a little page, which is basically a page I guess many developer have. It's my own portfolio page. So yeah, the thing where I present myself on the internet, and I guess this is a use case which is really important to function. So I guess maybe it's a good reward example, and I guess it might be a good idea to start to write Cypress tests for it from scratch. So fingers crossed for the live demo, but I didn't had a thoroughly dry run, so at least it will be entertaining, I think.
What
But
can go wrong? I mean, what can go
yeah,
wrong? Let's be honest.
even if it's entertaining and it's instructive. So both goals are reached, I think. Challenge accepted. So yeah, Well, let's quickly dive into it and go to a little my code example and how should we call it. I would be super creative, code and coffee. One for creative, I'm sorry, but you need to live with that.
Yes.
And there we go. And when you want to install Cypress, it's the way you might be used to using your favorite project manager to install it. And hopefully it doesn't take that much time.
Yeah, I mean, we always know that npm only downloads like the half of the internet every time. So
How strict is it in Poland when it comes to playing music? Because I always have this Star Wars elevator music in my head, but I don't use it because Germany is really strict with that.
to be honest, I'm not sure. Personally, I mean, I'm sure that all the recording companies are always listening and trying to find something like this. But I mean, I know that at some places, the owners of because we had this problem in different stores, and at some point, the store owners started to put out those notes that the music is only for the owner. Don't listen to it. To cheat the system.
So maybe while we wait, we can take a look what this page can. It's just a simple portfolio one, which has a little, area for a short introduction of me. And I obviously like to draw. So there's many. Okay, this is a picture, but I like to do much pure CSS to have it a little bit artsy. Here's a little features browse section where the newest blog posts will be showcased. And some more information about me, all the posts I did, speaking engagements, so like talk recordings, and a little calendar where you can meet me if you want to. Of course, I love dark mode, but you can have it bright as well, and I will turn it off because we don't want to be blinded by the lights. So, and we covered some time.
Yeah, and
So,
it was only 172 packages. So
at least Cypress brings everything with you. So I played around with Nightwatch before, and I had some problems with cross dependencies, which were really painful too. So at least everything is at your disposal and will be maintained by Cypress in a way that they will take care of their dependencies. Of course, there are many dependencies. npm is the internet, but you don't need to be so cautious with this. So let's quickly take a look to open the projects. Open. We have it here. Let's search for the code folder, which I don't find yet. There it is.
Okay,
and
I
ours.
see it. Of course, yeah.
Let's quickly ignore this error message. And it's fairly easy. I will go with a small command I like to use to open Cypress, but of course you can write a little npm script, you can use aliases and stuff like this, but let's rather keep it quick and to not use more time than needed. Hopefully make us out of sight because the package will be verified right now. Sometimes it takes too long, otherwise we just run it again and start it again. And
it seems it's working, so it's or not, we'll see.
So it works, so wonderful. I guess all the praying for the live. Let's see. Go a bit further. So here you can already see a little wizard if you start Cypress the first time. We could dive into component testing, but I guess that's a topic for another stream because this is basically a big one and an interesting one, but it requires some preparation. So let's go for end-to-end testing here. There it says to you that some files will be created, like the configuration, which we will take a look at later on. The support files, which will be used to have custom commands because we don't want to have duplicates that much. And an example fixture. So the fixture JSON files are the ones where you can store fixed test data, which won't change in between builds. Continue. now Cypress basically builds up. And here you can see all the browsers which are installed. Actually, I guess it's still experimental, but there is Safari support too. So it was basically created, I guess, in collaboration with Playwright. So thank you, Playwright. But it's possible. And Edge is possible too, but I don't have Edge on this Mac, so yeah. Depends on the things you have installed.
Hmm.
Okay, we will start then.
Still, I can't wait for the moment to run Safari on Windows. This will be something huge.
Yeah, and basically we could use some example specs. I don't think we should, because from scratch we want to have the action, right? So let's create a new spec, which is called first test. We will create a spec. Please just intervene if I'm too fast or if there are any questions. Sometimes.
To be honest, I'm constantly amazed about the developer experience, especially at the beginning. It just gives you a hand, and you can just follow this setup wizard, go step by step, and this is really important because when I think about Selenium, oh my, it was always a hassle to start it up.
I started actually with Selenium and in a PHP setting. So I used Mink. Do you know Mink yet or Behat?
I remember the name, yeah.
And we even went far more BDD, like behavior driven, which meant we had Gherkin, which meant we have an additional layer to maintain, which meant not that good of the X, right? So yeah.
Yeah, and even the first steps when you don't know the framework yet. And here it's relatively simple because it just just follow the step, press the button, and at least you will land with the simple example.
Yeah, as you see here. So to be honest with you, this test doesn't do much, right? It just visits an example page. For some people, did you got some expertise with, for example, Jest or frameworks like that?
More with Pest, so the PHP implementation of Jest, but yeah, it exactly looks the same. So first we have the description, which is something, and this is also the key thing between Pest and PHP unit. So you can like nicely describe what the test is about. And the next thing, if it passes, right? So it will just if it will visit the page, it will show the passes label, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the describe block is typical for Mocha, however you want to pronounce it. Thingies like being I like to call it a frame to have it more organized in your test file, and the it is the actual test. Yeah. So you will find yourself familiar if you wrote some JavaScript tests here. Okay, let's run it. And now we see the action, the thing which we like. I said, if the font is too small, just let me know so I can make it a bit bigger. There we go.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's really perfect. So we can see that it passes. So this is the label that we see, and yeah, so we visited this nice example that Cypress IO.
Yeah. So in this test runner, you can see more than that. Like here you have the specs again, so you can see all the tests you're writing. You can create a new spec right away too. There you have, if you use their dashboard service, which is the paid thing where Cypress earns their money, you can inspect those recorded runs here too, but you don't need to use it. So just so you know what this tab is for. Same here, but this one is even more interesting. So you can directly inspect all the project settings you have. And I will come here in a bit because here you see already a little color here. So Cypress will let you know where the config values come from. So are they default? Did you store it in a config file? Is it something which you adjusted in the config file are their environment variables or given by CI parameters. It's a neat way to let you know where the current configuration comes from. And this could even help with debugging too. Let's go back to the test. And as I said, we want to write a test for our own page. So I wanted to show you this config file here. And in the TE thingy, I want to configure the base URL so we don't need to use the complete URL in the tests every time, because I guess we want to visit our website even more than just in one text, right? So it's the base URL, and it is the live page. I want to have it a bit faster, so I'm just using it on live system. You shouldn't do this too much, of course. So, but for now, I guess it's fine because we won't write anything to it, and it's only a portfolio page. But Maciek, what do you think about testing live environments?
I mean, I can imagine that there are some cases when it's always worth to test something. I mean, first let's test on our staging environment or our local environment, but in the end, it's always worth to do this final check on the on production. Because we all know this joke about it works on my machine, right?
Oh yeah, this is the reason why Docker was invented, because we can give our machine, right?
Exactly. Although if you, I remember at some point if you use it on Windows, it sometimes always could be it worked on my Windows Docker, but yeah, yeah, but in general, it's always a good approach to do this last test on production, to make sure that by some accident somewhere on some point where there was this slight tiny difference between our environments, something didn't broke.
So to get back to the configuration here, we see that we basically used a little adjustment in your config file. So it's highlighted in blue, teal, whatever it is. You could even edit it directly, but let's go back to the IDE because I love it. All right, so we want to run it, I think. Drums will. Let's hope I didn't mess anything up. Oh, maybe
it was hard coded. Yeah, it was hard coded, the URL inside of the test.
Yeah, go on. So let's go to the UTE file. Probably I will explain the other files too. Go back to this because basically the base URL will be prefixed, so it's okay to just use root. Save it, and then there we are. Wonderful.
It's working.
There's a little redirect, which I know, but well, we could work on our page here right now. Just to get back and give you a little overview, the Cypress folder here is the one where the magic happens. So basically, almost everything we do will happen here besides the config, which is here. So, or the package JSON where we could basically write some scripts or whatever we want to, or install more Cypress extensions if we want to. In the Cypress folder, we have the download one. If you want to test downloads, they will be stored here. The ETE one, where you will find all the tests. The fixer one for the fixer file with some test data, and the support ones for the commands which you want to use. I see I'm using JavaScript now. You can have TypeScript support, but I'm not completely bulletproof in TypeScript yet, so maybe let's stick for JavaScript right now. But next time, maybe I will be a bit more confident there. But I know when I give the Cypress workshops, sometimes that went wrong.
So next time we will go into component testing with TypeScript, right?
Oh, I could consider that. It would be fun, I think. So, yeah, let's take a look here. I guess maybe we want to have a little bit more descriptive names. But for that, Maciek, what do you think? What should we check?
So this test will be those general. So maybe let's call them smoke tests, right? Because this is like this typical for this. So let's start with, yeah,
So just running through the pages and see if something is loaded.
exactly. So I think that
Okay.
we should start with something like this.
Okay, so let's see. I guess for the first page, it would be nice to check the heading, right? So we need to tell Cypress that, and we could go with the typical DevTools to get the selectors, which we will do often, but I just want to showcase it right now. So use this little cursor and go for the H1. But Cypress gives you something to support you in this too. So like here's this little thingy, and I forgot the name. You could go here, and it will give you even better selectors and even the complete command we could use, like all the actions Cypress does. May it be returning an element, clicking, typing, all actions the test would do. And I like that it's going for this little selector here. Do you know why?
So we will be checking if it will have this, hi, I am Ramona Schwering, right? So we'll do
Exactly.
asserting, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the cool part of what Cypress does is the only thing that is left for us. I mean, first we have to just get the ID and add the asserts, because all the rest we can just like browse over with the mouse and it will almost do it for us.
Mhm. I even like it even more that it seems to apply some best practices here. So we could say like we're searching for the H1, but if I would have written this page not this neat little way, let's call it like that, it could have two, right? So if there are
Mhm.
two H1 tags, that might be a problem for the thing. So I use other selectors. In this case, it's a data attribute. And I like to go for those because they are not that prone to change. If
Mhm.
we, for example, go for CSS selectors and someone, which is not me, maybe my brother, let's call it like that, would go for refactoring and change some class names, which is fairly common, the test would fail without having a bug in it. So because
Mhm.
only the
Exactly.
implementation changed. So I like that Cypress seems to apply best practices here if it can. So let's copy it. Going to it. And well, I didn't turn it off. I was sure I would turn it off, right? Just pretend that there's no complete please. I don't want to, maybe I look later on, but I will use an insertions to make sure that this heading is there. There's one interesting thing about Cypress here. So this command, the get command, is
Mhm.
already checking if the element is existent in the DOM.
Mhm.
So if you want to have something just to be existent, that is already enough and you don't need an insertion. However, it's only checking if it's existing. If it's not existing, it tries again until the timeout is reached. But sometimes the user can still not interact with the element, for example, if it's
Mhm.
hidden. So I like this be visible chainer to check if it's actually able to be interacted with.
Mhm.
So you will find these should be visible versions fairly often in my case. And these chainers are actually shy assertions. So
Mhm. Mhm.
it doesn't matter if it's a chit or if you use these expect element to be visible.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay.
Let's run it. And yeah,
It's here. Exactly.
wonderful. And
Perfect.
as you see, if I'm hovering on it, you see that it will be highlighted with everything we need, even with the margin. And you can highlight even more. So if you pin it and go to the DevTools, you can
Mhm.
find much information on it, like which command you executed, on which subject, so which element it was used, and you can basically get all possible information on it. And if it fails, let's say like let's make the test to
Mhm.
fail. I didn't save, I think. Let's go. Yeah, it will fail, obviously. Oh my God, I'm so surprised. You can see what was expected, and it's
Exactly. Yeah.
really, and of course, it's not visible, so you can see the error message in it. And yeah, lots of information. You might need to debug your code. Okay, let's get back to it. We want to have a little smoke test, I think. So I will get back, and I want to click this element here, the about me. So let's go for it. Oh, it's still a data attribute we could use, so I like it. I will copy it. You see, I don't need to do much, which is really great. And let's do it like this. I don't want to have it visible. I do want to have it visible, but maybe that's a bit too fast because, yeah,
Yes, we
I
want to
like
click
to,
it and go to the link.
you know, this I like to use those things that I check if something I want to click is interactable, because there might be some timing issues sometimes. When
Yeah, especially when we are using all those hamburger menus and media queries, and sometimes the menu can disappear when it shouldn't. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's always a good practice. And let's be honest, adding this one instruction doesn't cost us anything, and we'll be sure that everything is working as it should. So
Absolutely. Always make sure that your dependency is on. We need to have it visible before we click it, and always make sure to check it. And if there are some sticker addicts here, like I am, please raise your hand. Yeah, I'm always a sticker hunter at conferences. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry.
I also have this digital ocean shark.
Mhm. Actually, you see, I just like a little cut from it, but this is a quality assurance sticker by the company of my father. So he was working as a quality assurance in a mechanic company, so as an engineer in mechanical engineering. But I like to wear it on my laptop, even though it's not IT related, because it's cool. All right, so I think we could assert on this title, but somehow I think that's a bit too easy. So, what do you think? What would be even better to assert on?
I mean, always the most. I think that the best way is always to assert on something from the footer to make sure that the whole page was rendered. This is one of the best checks if the footer was loaded, because
Mhm.
sometimes sometimes I got the situation when I was able to get the status of 200, which was a success, but but the page was blank.
Mhm. I so feel you. So let's see. I would include it in the main page because the footer doesn't change. But maybe it's a good idea to go for the imprint here, because in Germany you need
Mhm.
to access the imprint in the course of 2 clicks maximum. So that might be a good idea to use this part
In,
of the footer.
interesting. It's interesting.
Is this in
I
Poland similar or something?
No, no.
I'm not surprised because Germany needs to have rules or regulation for everything. But
Oh, I know,
I
I
did
know.
say it.
I'm constantly reading about different ways how many German people are trying to avoid those in different ways. Lately, I
Mhm.
saw a tutorial on because there is something about required that you can't send PDFs, but you have to have like copies from the from the real paper or from the real document. And there, I read a tutorial how to convert your PDF into a Xero looking one, and it works.
Yeah. I improve some naming here. Should
Mhm.
small test successfully. I used some of command comments here. What do you think about that?
Always, the comments are always useful, because right now we always will say, of course, we will always remember it's self-explanatory and everything, and like 2 weeks later, it's like, who wrote this? what does it do? Yeah, so always we should write comments. I really
So
believe
true.
in the I really believe that maybe AI will help us here because I'm so horrible at writing comments. I
Oh
am this
yeah, I
type
feel you.
of I am this person of I will remember it so easy.
Mm.
It's never is.
I like to repeat one point in my talks really often when it comes to testing. Keep them simple, stupid. So this should be the first and only and most important rule. You should be able to understand your test at first sight, ideally.
Mm-hmm.
So even if it might be a little bit duplicated, I think commands are really, really vital in here, especially when we cover some custom commands later on, if we have the time for it. Okay, so we go to the About page and we'll still look for something a bit more hidden at the About page here. So maybe going for yeah, this picture here,
Mm-hmm.
just to have a little yeah, variety in it. So, okay, what do we have as a selector here? Oh, I don't like this one because it's not that easy to read. Not maybe I'll go for the yeah, polar white one.
Yeah.
I have two of those, but I guess this selector is still okay to read, right?
Yeah, it's we know that it's on the about page and it's with this Polaroid. So yeah, it's kind of I
Okay,
mean
so
right now I for sure will remember what it does. 2 weeks later, who knows?
yeah, okay. So, well, when we do a smoke test, maybe I will be a little bit fast now, but there are some assertions I really love about Cypress.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you have an opinion on that because we will mix two testing types here, but especially if you are working in an API first environment, as I do most of the time, I still think it's okay if every click causes an API request. We are testing the API by clicking too, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind if we assert on API requests, and this is the thing I want to do here. So is there already some good one? We could check for this one here, um, because I have some my GitHub contributions listed here. So maybe it's a
Mm-hmm.
good idea to go for yeah my
Yeah,
repos
good.
if the repos are there. Um, if you pin this one, it's even better to use Cypress because you can inspect lots of stuff when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to the request. So you can see all the headers, the response headers. Well, this one doesn't have that much of content right now, I think, or are we at the wrong one? You could basically inspect everything you want to have, which is
Mm-hmm.
great. So let me um, see. It's the Cypress intercept command. I will
Mm-hmm.
specify the method. You don't need to, but I like to do it because I like to be precise.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go for the API request. And let's see. I'm just lazy and copy it. And we will assign an alias for it so Cypress can easily notice it again and work with it. So let's quickly check if it finds this one. Yeah, it does. You see this little
Mm-hmm.
tag here? So Cypress found the right request. And if we want to have an overview about it, it's this one. Let me quickly make it a little bit bigger to see it. Like you can see all the information you
Mm-hmm.
gave to Cypress, like the method, the root matches. So yeah, this is the root we used. The step one is interesting because if you want to, you could even mock some requests. So if
Mm-hmm.
it's like this, we don't have any possibility to control GitHub basically. So we could
Mm-hmm.
mock it if you don't want to be dependent on GitHub's API. And yeah, the alias and how many times it's found. And yeah, in the course of the test, we could go like, okay, let's wait for this. Like Cypress wait is a command. And if we do this, it already waits for the request to happen. Get back to the test. And there we are. It waited for it. However, is there something you would improve here?
Um, we are waiting, but we are not checking what is happening with this, right?
Exactly. So if we get a 500 error code or a 400, we wouldn't notice because the request happened, right? We don't care
Exactly.
about the answer yet. So let's go
So we just
for,
so first we have to check the status of the.
you know, exactly. So it's if we turn it off, you know that. I don't know why it's doing like that, but let's just act like it didn't happen. So response,
It's
status code.
it's a typo. It's a typo.
Oh, this is good.
Yeah.
Response, there we go. Status. Oh, it should be, I love this should command. Should equal 200. It was a 200, it was not 204, right? Let's see.
I would go that it should be lower than 400 because even the 300s are okay, and sometimes the partials. Yeah, it kind of depends on the API, but
Let's try it out. Yeah,
it works.
it's working. And with this kind of assertion, you can really efficiently wait. And I know I'm annoying on that, but anyone who's watching here, if you use fixed waiting time, like a Cypress wait, let's go for this one, for example, wait for 400 milliseconds. I will be your bad conscience. Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Because in the best case, you will slow your test down because it will always wait for this time. In the worst case, you won't wait enough, and then your test gets flaky.
Okay, it's yes. This is an important thing, and this is also the reason why I'm running this Code and Coffee show, so I can learn so many interesting things.
Sorry, I know I'm annoying on that one, but I
No, it's
had
always.
so many pains to debug this stuff, and I don't want you to
I
feel pain.
I can imagine that. Yeah, because so if you will just put the number there, it will always run for those 200 milliseconds, no matter what, right?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, so this can really get really annoying when you have a lot of
Oh,
those
yeah.
waits, and for some reason you are at some point you start to think why all my test suite runs for, I don't know, 25 minutes.
Oh, yeah. And in the worst case, if you, for example, happen to have a really slow runner in CI, you don't know why it's failing like 1 in 2 times or 1 in 4 times. So this is really, really annoying or burdensome and stuff. So yeah, let's get back here. We want to, let me show you something. If I hover here, do you see what it does?
Oh,
You can,
every time you just scroll, I mean, you have your cursor over a step, it just moves. Amazing. Yeah, really, the whole I mean, developer experience, it's really amazing. Uh,
this is called time travel by Cypress because you can basically watch every step it does. When it comes to this click here, if you hover over it, you can see the click actually happen. You see? There's a little
yeah,
bubble here.
exactly.
And the okay, here it's not this visible, but you can see what happens before and afterwards. Like it loaded my
Amazing.
repositories, my own ones, which I had here. So you can basically happen to see everything what happens here. Of course, it's more impressive if you have a large test because you can see all the steps it did. But at least here you can already see it a little bit.
Yeah, and I can imagine how helpful it is, especially when you are debugging and you are trying to pinpoint at some point the problem starts. Because the fact that some assertion goes wrong doesn't mean this is the problem itself, because it might start a few steps earlier, and the fact that some tests fail started really like 2 or 3 steps before because something did not happen, did not show, or.
Well, okay, so let's get for the next page. Still data which we could use, so let's copy this one. And it's the writing part, so I call it writing. The right spelling is an advantage, I think. So it'll be visible, and we want to click it. Click, remove the chainer because it's no needed for the click one. Let's run it. Yeah, and I guess it's a good idea to wait for one of these cards to show up. I can do this really easily here because I know it's always the same order, but please be careful on that one because, yeah, no matter, it depends on how you build your listing, but this order could change. Here it's like after date of creation, so it's okay, but I remember, well, I'm working at Shopper, which is basically a provider of an open source e-commerce system. And if it's, for example, sorted by a ID, and the IDs will be generated on every new build, that might change.
Yeah.
I go for the first one. So I see that with the NTH child, it's the first entry I want to use. We could make it even better when it comes to Cypress. So let's go for Cypress get. Not the menu point. I want to go for the block listing here. I just copy this part of the selector. Of course, as a string. And I want to check for the first one.
Okay. So this is exactly the same as using the nth child or something like this.
Yeah, just a little more neat to read. So it's more clean. So I think sometimes if you use too many pseudo selector, it can get a bit cramped. So yeah, this one, it's a bit more clean, I think. All right, so this worked out. Next one, the speaking page. And it is. I was careful when it comes to those attributes, at least for the most part. Okay. Visible, and again we will click. I'm noticing I'm writing a lot of similar things, right?
Yeah, but this is all about end-to-end testing, that a machine does it for us rather than we are going click, 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 and go to sleep in the middle, because it gets boring after the fifth click.
Absolutely right. So yeah, there we are. I think maybe it's a good idea to go for the first talk here.
And I think that it would be interesting to see how see more this button, how it works. Does it clicks? Because I'm guessing it's a Ajax request, right? Or is it a new page?
We could take a look later. Let me quickly
Of
get
course,
this one.
yeah. First we have to check if there is any talk loaded, because this is the most important part.
This is the talk where we met the first time, actually. The
because this was the last one, so in Amsterdam.
Exactly. So we want to go for the first. We will check if it's visible. Let's chain it together. Okay. Let's see what happens. So it is a new URL, right? Or now we didn't work enough, I think. So
because probably the tile itself wasn't clickable, just maybe the title in there.
Let's go for it again. And,
was it a small tile or small title?
It was a small tile. But
Okay.
I want to show you this Cypress pause command because it will pause the test on the point where we use it.
Mhm.
Of course, it's only working for the test running here, so there we see. Okay, we don't see much, so maybe we need to do one more thing. Found it. Okay, so
Mhm.
maybe it's an idea to scroll to it because it's outside the viewport. Maybe this is the point we need to do.
Okay, so this part maybe loads only after we scroll to it. Let's see.
Yeah, let's take a look. And I messed up a little bit when it comes to the structure. So there we go. Let's see what happens here. The pose is still there. No, it was not enough. Why was it not enough? Maybe the selector is not
Or maybe
unique
there
enough.
is this small tile is used somewhere else.
Let's go for the complete one then, even if it's a bit ugly. So I will remove this one. Maybe we need it, maybe we're not. Let's see. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
So we were not specific enough. Sometimes you
Mhm.
need to be a little bit careful when it comes to that. And yeah, it still pauses because we told it to intervene. And if we
Mhm.
want to resume, we can press here and then everything's fine. So this one could be okay. The cookie one, YouTube, still there you see the problem when it comes to requests you have no control of, like third-party ones. So maybe this might be a good idea to mock it, but one step after the other. Get rid of this pause.
Mhm.
And let's see. Was there a request we could wait for? It's just a navigation, so it's not a good idea to use this one. Okay. Just for some small background from my portfolio page, it's based on Nux 2. I didn't
Mhm.
migrate to 3 yet because IATN is not compatible yet. So there's a bridge, but I didn't try it out yet. And or is it a compatible branch which is not merged yet? One of these two options.
Mhm.
But this is the reason why I waited for it, like waiting for migrating. So could it be an idea to go for the detail content here and see if the word abstract is in it, right? Could that be real?
That's
Okay. Using an idea
That's
is
a-
maybe a little bit too easy, but I'm going for this selector here. And I'll use another fascinating command. It's called do command because you can use it as a parent one or a child one. So yes, you can go for the selector first and remove all the noise. There we go again. And then give this word abstract to it. And see if it's visible again. We run the test. And now we can be sure that it contains the talk content and it's visible. The
Yeah.
word abstract is in it. So we can be super
Exactly.
sure that it's like available here. All right, up for attending now. Yeah, sometimes it's a bit difficult to navigate around. So again, the same old story. Cypress. I think it should be visible and click. Then we take a look on what to wait for to see that it clicked. Oh, is there a little? Oh, either we are too fast, or there's an error in my page. See? Yeah, it looks like we didn't wait enough, or or was it still navigating, and does it click at the wrong page?
Yeah, because it's about the visible of talk content. Huh, it's weird. We checked and it was.
So this is something you need to be aware of. There's no human clicking who has like this reaction time. I guess a human needs at least 1 second to react on anything they see. So the processing time from eye to the brain. And a robot, which is basically a computer, doesn't have this reaction time. It reacts immediately. So this might be a source of actual differences. I do think maybe we should wait for another request here if we can, but I'm not completely sure because it's navigation, so that might be difficult because it's not XHR. Let's see. We are here, and then we go to here. It gets confused because we have the second request we're not waiting for, so maybe we should wait for both. This could be a timing issue. So let's go for it. At least we can basically make it fairly similar. Get start. I guess this is a good way of waiting. So where's the wait? There it is. So we wait for the repositories and for the start ones. Actually, I use this get starts because I work on other repositories, and at the point I built my page, I wasn't sure on how to get those, but I filled out all the ones which I'm not contributing on and start. Maybe the order is not good, or I forgot to do something. It repos get started. It's okay. Let's change that. Yeah, it was the order which was not the, and it didn't work out.
But still, we have the problem with the abstract to be visible. Do you see that at some point we have this huge image of
Yeah,
this?
it's the preview image from one of the this one.
Yes, it looks like.
We don't wait for it to be right. Click and block listing first should be visible. I'll add a pause here to see what happens in the meantime. I have the feeling that Cypress is too fast for us at the moment, or for our application. So let's take a look.
It kind of looks like this. That
There was a rendering difference if you pay a little attention. Now it should be fine. Yeah, it is. So,
it is, yeah.
Should we wait? We could think about waiting for the list to be complete. This could be an idea. So, like, I'm not completely sure if I can do it by heart, but let's go for the block listing again, for the block listing elements. I should remove the first. Is there a length chainer? I think so, right? Length. At least 3 or 4. I guess I have 3 or 4. Let's see, at least 3. See if it's enough. Maybe we used
block listing expected to have length of 3 but got 0. Wait a second, because aren't we checking right? Aren't we checking if there are 3 block listings? Or no, should have. It's what's inside, because
Yeah, we need to see. I have a feeling we are not waiting enough. And I'm asking why it's flickering right now. Get block listing. This is typical if we don't wait for the right element, we should. So let's try to use the DevTools here. I like to do it in the normal browser because it's better when it comes to the space management, or to call it that. So let's see, because of course this selector play code we used before to get the selectors, it's a bit automation, and sometimes it doesn't deal with the with the things we want to have. So yeah, we have like 4 of those, which should be okay. Or the chainer we're using is not good. So we could use the article, like just waiting for the HTML element could be an idea. Let's try it out. Maybe this is better.
Yes, because I think that we checked if there are not 3 children of block listings, but 3 block listings.
It seems like it's even better, so it's green. Let's rerun it again to see if it's really green or flaky.
Flaky. Yeah, and this time it's Polaroid. So yeah, this is kind of weird that right now it's.
I will start it again. Maybe it got caught up because it didn't do it before and we didn't change our behavior. Okay, now it's not working anymore, so again, close and start again. Let's see what happens. Now it's not, maybe the test runner was just a little bit overrun because we are so fast and so good. You know, you see, maybe now it's better.
Let's check again.
Yeah, that's better. So maybe it got cut off. Okay, data filter is not a function. Not from Cypress. It's from by the API of GitHub. A point where we don't have any information. So maybe.
Yes, and now we can see that the status is 403. So probably we run it too often in a short time. I wouldn't be surprised.
Could be. Yeah. We are not the ones deciding that. So maybe just comment it out for the time being. But if it's an API request of an API you wrote yourself, you have control over it, and then it's a perfect way of waiting.
Oh, I think that we were because.
Yeah, I guess we just were too much doing it. It's like, an uncaught exception. There's one thing you could do, like it's not loaded because we were like, maybe we run into a like wait limit, I can imagine. So there's a configuration, I don't know it by heart yet, but you could use it to suppress those exceptions, which will most likely be able to be discovered in the console too. Yeah. Sometimes you need to suppress those, but I wouldn't recommend it because these are valid errors we want to fix if it's originated from our own application, right? So let's quickly see if we can just ignore it for now, so we don't use the about one. That's, yeah, basically, I miss my keyboard sometimes. So, did I turn it off? Or we do it the useful way. I messed up my shortcut, so please don't blame me for this. This is aligned that way. Let's see if we can make it pass here again. Yeah, now it's satisfied again, even if it's not the wonderful way. Okay, events I attended. Maybe it's a good idea to check for this first calendar entry here or table entry here. I don't like the selector, to be honest with you. So I will take a look at the project again.
But
we could be really lazy and say, okay, we want to check for this user group here, which I will have a talk in a bit. And just go for the following one. Cypress contains and the name. We can check for snippets too, which is a really reliable way too, if you don't change snippets so much.
So in short, using those would be better for your archive of talks because you know that you talk at some talk. So, but the one that you are attending in the future, this is a worse approach because they are changing constantly.
True that. So let's see. And it's working.
Yes, it contains the front-end user group, so it's perfect.
So we were able to visit all these pages here and see if they load and see if something doesn't load, like the rate limited stuff here, which is okay again. So maybe it's a rate limiter for some minutes, I think. But well, it's good because it's a good sign that they have a rate limit in it. Okay, so yeah, we have a first little test.
It's not so little. I mean, clicking it manually and checking would take like a minute, but if we will repeat it every time, I would be really happy to always make it automated. And this is something that I would always run after deploying my site to production to make sure that everything still works. But what else can we do with Cypress? Is there any cool thing you'd recommend? That
Well, I wouldn't do it for just 2 lines, but if you have some sections of code which are coming back again and again and again, it might be a good idea to write a custom command. So give me a little second to think about a good example, which is maybe a little more
to be
impressive.
honest, this was something that I thought for a moment that it's kind of a repetitive task. So it would be nice just to have this command that will just get our selector, and the rest should be visible. Selector click.
Yes, so we will have this E2E.js, which is the entry point for custom commands. Like it imports the command file here to have it a little bit more clean. You will start to add it to the Cypress object and do the command stuff, and let's call it click and check. Yeah, I know it's a bad use case, but at least for the time frame we have, it's okay. Let's go with the selector. That's good. Actually, Copilot, you're not right here, so we will click. We can post it, and then
it should be visible.
Exactly. Yeah. So this already looks good. And then we can start to basically say, okay, we want to have this. Yeah, I didn't use some documentation now to have it a bit more cleaner for the IDE, but it should still work. And yeah, it
And we
works.
could, yeah.
So please go ahead.
Yeah, I think the next line click wasn't necessary, or am I wrong?
Let us see. Yeah, let's
Yeah,
remove it.
exactly.
That's the working like a charm. So let's replace such things here.
Yeah, I mean, when we have like quite a long list of those in our smoke test, replacing those two lines with one can make a difference.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, especially for
also,
stuff like logging in or stuff you
oh
delete a
yes,
lot.
yeah, yeah, and especially if those are a bit more multi-step, or like some parts of probably filling out the forms, or
Yeah, stuff like this. So yeah, it's still working like before, and it's completely expectable here.
and we saved like four or five lines, so it's huge.
Mhm. And when I think about my daily doing where we have like the e-commerce stuff, logging in or creating a product, all those things are basically needed but not connected to a test case, because imagine something like buying a product. You need a product, you need a
Mhm.
customer, but it's not the workflow of buying a product to create all those things. So try to avoid clicks or doing stuff you don't need for the test case. And here such commands will get into practice.
Mhm, mhm.
So
Okay.
what could we still test? Let me think, because it's like a really easy page.
Maybe the light and the dark mode.
Oh yeah. So let's go for it. Um, we have a wonderful test, but I don't want to run it all the time, right? So I will use a skip, so it's not executed
Mhm.
anymore. Of course, we could say only two if we want only this test to be run.
Mhm.
Okay, so going for it to change to light mode. And I already apologize to the people who will be blinded later on. Um, yeah, sometimes you gotta do this, right? So Cypress, we're doing a Cypress widget again. Should we do it like this?
Yeah, so we are on the home page. We
Yeah,
are
but we
hitting
are
the base URL.
yeah, but we will do it for all these methods, right? We
Mm,
can save some lines here.
we can.
Mhm. So Cypress provides you hooks, lifecycle hooks you can use. So it's like before, which is
Um,
execute before all tests. So like before and then
mhm.
test 1, 2, 3. You could before each, which is the one I'm aiming here right now, because this will be executed basically after before every test. So before each test 1, before each test 2. And this is basically a point where, for example, I like to take care of test data management. So I would like
Mhm.
to have my tests isolated so no side effects can come into place. And so I go here, and if I have some write operations, I like to set my application back to its original state here. And this is a wonderful discussion topic, but I don't want to go into that rabbit hole
Mhm.
just right away. And afterwards, I want to create all the data I need for my tests by using those fixtures. And depending on the application, there are a couple of ways to do this. Do you know why I want to do it in the before hook and not in the after each hook, like after all tests?
To be honest, I'm not sure because it seems similar, apart from the first run.
Hmm. This is right, but there's one little catch. Imagine your test fails horribly. so it's like completely
Hmm.
stops execution, then your application won't be cleaned up and some REST data
Oh,
will be there.
I
So
understand. Yeah.
try to see the cleanup as the first step, so we can always be sure that everything is cleaned up before we do anything.
Yeah, so it's always better to clean up even the clean state because it doesn't hurt us at all, and we'll be sure that if something happened in the last run because it wasn't. I get it. Yeah, it totally has a lot of sense.
So let's see if it's still working. Yeah, you see here, okay, we basically skipped it. It wasn't executed at all, and it's good. And of
Hmm.
course, we don't do much here. So I will see what they have for me as a. Okay, this is a convenient select. Let's go for it. Cypress. I copied it, so let's click it. See what happens.
So we don't have to now use the visit because right now we are visiting the homepage twice, right?
Good that you catch that. Now, I just want to make sure that it's visible.
Of course.
We want to be vulnerable right now, so we do it. Go there, clicking it, and then we want to have a wonderful session. Let's see where the color would be stored. I'd like to do
I'm
it again here because it's more. I have more space to remove here. Do we have it already here?
Is it? Okay, I see. It's the HTML tag.
Yeah.
The
So
HTML tag gets the light mode class.
yeah. So let's. I don't know if it's good to use this one, but we can still do it because yeah, there's a class. But sometimes I want to know if it's really applied. But let's still go for it. Cypress gets HTML. Should have class. Was light mode, I think.
Light mode, yeah.
Check. Already working? Yeah, it is. But I want to be even more precise. So I saw that the body.
But what will happen? Because right now we are probably storing the data inside of some cookie or something.
Mm,
So we should probably make sure that we always clean this state to be sure that we always return to the dark mode, right? Because this is the default, or I'm guessing
yeah,
at least.
it's actually the default. If we rerun it, we will be back to dark mode, I think. Yeah.
Oh,
You
so it
can
always cleans.
disable this. Yeah. You can disable the cleanup of cookies. It's fairly new, some month old, I think, the
Mm-hmm.
feature. So multi-session, it's called like this Cypress session command. You can
Mm-hmm.
even keep logging cookies if you want to. However, I didn't use it that much yet. So and I don't like to have side effects. So
Oh yeah,
I
because
consciously use
it's
it. Let's say it like that.
yeah, because I can imagine that there are some tests when we want to check if the cookie stays where it should, but by default, every time when we rerun the test, we would like to start with a clean state. So yeah, we see that.
So let's be a little bit more precise. I want to see if the color is white here. So let's go to the browser to have a little bit more space. Let's see, should we use the body? Yeah, the background color is
Yeah.
white here. So
Yes,
let's
because
see.
the fact that we have a class doesn't mean anything because we could have made a typo somewhere, and the
So,
light mode class isn't in the end creating a light mode.
so I will start on the CSS
Mm-hmm.
and the background color, and let's go for the hex word here. Yeah, okay, RGB, it's okay. because it's not completely white, I think. Whatever.
Yeah, because it's overwritten by the CSS variable.
Let's see. Yeah, here it is. So let's go. Copilot was right in this regard. So yeah, should change to light mode. Now we can be a bit more sure that it's light mode. I love to, for example, not only to assert for CSS sometimes, but also for attributes. For example, if an image has the right source, that's sometimes a little bit good. So let's go for the Polaroid image. I don't like to use the CSS class here. As said, I don't like to go for implementation details, but
But
let's still do it for because the time is running out. So it's okay. Should. Let's see if I can get it by heart. Should have attribute. Should be, yeah, source is already good. Should include, it should be okay. Let's quickly check because I don't have the path by heart right now. Mo portrait. Little fun fact: Mo is my gaming tag, so it's not that creative because it's like Mo na, so it's not that creative. But for example, in the shopper community, I'm always called Mo because my mentor wanted to use the same. I like it; it's cute. So maybe just going like this. Should include Mo. Maybe it's already worked out. Yes. So we can be sure that it's actually the right picture to have here. And yeah, same to my talks, I like to draw them myself. Okay. So do we have any more? We could go for 4 minutes, or what do you think? What we should do next? Because it's an easy use case, right?
Do you have any idea what else you could in those four?
Not for 4 minutes, fortunately.
So I think we can just start kind of summing it up because we really learned a lot, and not only how things works, but sometimes how they can break. And this was also something interesting. And yeah, this is really a thing about end-to-end testing. It sometimes is flaky. So and this is what Cypress does really well. It can show you the whole recording, the whole step by step, so you can be sure, was it an error of that you just created, or like we had this great example of that GitHub started returning a 403 error, which means it's not our fault probably because we could make a typo in the URL, but it certainly gave us a great description of what happened, why it happened, and so we could rule this part out of the code. And yeah, this is great, and also the whole experience of working with Cypress is truly amazing because like Cypress does everything, so we could concentrate only on, well, thinking about what should we test and on making the asserts that we need. The rest, yeah, Cypress can do it for us, and we can just click this copy to clipboard and paste, of course, into our editor, which is truly amazing. Also, when the thing that you showed, and this was a small thing, but I really loved it when you showed in Cypress the whole configuration file and how it colors based on from which part of the code it goes. Is it from the
Yeah.
environmental file? I mean, this is a small thing. This is this small little thing, but when you are at the stage of pulling your hair out because why something isn't working, just to realize because you added some extra environmental variable or something else and not in the file when you were looking for it. And thanks to this, you can just see the difference in color. Like I said, this is a small thing, but this is the thing that can prevent you from losing your hair. And what can
Oh
I
yeah,
say? Been there, and
been there, done
I'm
that.
yeah.
Same.
I'm really happy that still my hair is in quite good shape even after so many years of development. But before we will like wrap this up, I would just like to. How do you think Cypress compares with others? I mean, we talk a bit about Selenium, which is good, but the developer experience isn't that great. But on the other hand, we also have Playwright,
Mm.
which in terms of developer experience, at least in my opinion, looks really nice. And on the other hand, I mean, we both saw the same presentation by Debbie O'Brien, and everything that Debbie does really looks. I mean, it looks so full of energy and everything.
Oh yeah,
So,
that's so true.
and what is your opinion about Playwright compared to Cypress?
Well, Playwright is actually my second favorite framework, and it will be really interesting, especially recently where they published a preview of their own improved testing UI. So it gotta be interesting. At the moment, I still like the test runner of Cypress more than the one by Playwright, but I guess we all can stay tuned because it gotta be interesting. And yeah, a point which I like in Playwright a bit more than in Cypress is that they have a native trace viewer. So if you have some failures in CI in your pipeline, they will have the complete DOM snapshot at your disposal. For Cypress,
Hmm.
there's a plugin doing this, but it's still a third-party plugin. So
Hmm.
I don't like to have dependencies. So at the moment, when it comes to local debugging, I still like the Cypress test runner more, especially as it still provides me component testing in a similar manner, which we should
Hmm.
definitely take a look at later. Um, but yeah, let's stay tuned and see what the future brings because it's like a little bit a race. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, and I must admit that I remember that when I first tried Playwright, uh, the general experience wasn't that smooth. And lately, when like I said, inspired by Debbie to just try it out, I just wanted to buy a bike because I had to test if the bike is in store,
Mm,
and I must say that the general experience was really great, and it was right now quite similar to Cypress. I mean, it just worked, and this was a thing that the first time when I used Cypress, I was surprised that okay, so I installed it, I run the configuration, and that's it. I can just write test. It was a very pleasant surprise,
mhm. A thing
and
which is
also
interesting.
mhm.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
I
go
didn't.
go. No,
Okay.
go for it.
So, if you go for if you should use Cypress or Playwright, at least from my experience, it depends on your team too. I have the feeling that QA engineers have an easier time with Cypress,
Hmm.
and Playwright is a bit more closer to the typical way how a developer write tests. So maybe this is something to consider too.
Okay, that's it. That's interesting. And what do you think is the difference between them? Between
Mm,
how developers
I
and QA see it? Because it's
uh,
really an interesting fact that you mentioned.
I have the feeling, at least just a gut feeling, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but if you are coming from manual QA, the syntax of Cypress is more closer to the way people are using. So it's not completely Gherkin, but still really easy to see like
Hmm.
Cypress do this, Cypress do that. As you use lots of async way of writing and Playwright, this is the typical way how developers like to use JavaScript. So it's just like a comfort zone of both people,
Hmm.
like testers or developers, which is slightly different.
Oh, I think I get what you mean because I remember that it took me a while to find some things about playwright syntax, while Cypress feels more natural. It's like it feels like it's much easier to convert, like creating this algorithm, go here, click here, do that, to the Cypress code rather to the Playwright code. And yeah, this is this actually what happened, because like I said, I remember when building those tests that I needed. um, I had to have this documentation in opened on the different monitor. Why in Cypress it was just like a bit more natural. You just look at the code and see this step by step by step. It's much more, let's use this term, self-explanatory, which we all
Mm.
know. But we all have to remember, self-explanatory in most cases it's a bit of a lie. Right documentation.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Please do always do it.
Yes. So, Ramona, thank you so much, because you really showed a lot how to get started with Cypress. How easy it is to uh, write your first task, especially those about navigation. But of course, we also saw how to check some CSS rules, HTML. Um, we also pinged an API, which in the end timed out because we probably did it a bit too much at the time. Happens. This is also a reason why we should, in most cases, mock our API calls, because also such testing can be really costly if
Oh
we have
yeah.
a, yeah. So this is also always a thing that we should remember. But yes, I like I mentioned, the general feeling, this developer experience of Cypress is really really amazing. So uh, if you want to start testing and you don't have any test, really start from the top. I know everyone is talking start with the unit tests, but writing unit tests when you are starting, it's difficult. And it's better to have the top to make sure that your application is working, that you can navigate to each page, that the result is as it should. And later on, you will start writing all the other tests to make sure why something is breaking, why something isn't working, and all those things. So, uh, thank you again, and probably we will start arranging something about the component testing in TypeScript, right?
I would be happy about that. I don't know in which time frame, but it's definitely an option.
That's perfect. I mean, um, also it will be great for me, so maybe let's book something even for the beginning of next year. I mean, we have time, so we'll be
Mm.
sure about this. So thank you again, and thank you everyone who watched us and listened to us. And yes, see you soon, and have a great day or night, because it depends. And cheers, everyone.
Cheers and thank you for having me.
Thanks. Bye.
Goodbye.